Ever walked past those double doors in a hospital and like wondered just what exactly is going on in there?
It's a world of surgical wonders.
Yeah.
And maybe a little bit of controlled chaos, but...
There's got to be some protocols.
Oh, absolutely.
Some serious organization behind those doors.
It's more than just scalpels and bright lights.
Yeah.
You know?
We're going deep today into a world you might not even know exists.
The fascinating
realm
of operating theater zones.
Oh, it's so cool.
These carefully designed areas.
It's like the invisible guardians of surgery.
Exactly.
Making sure everything runs smoothly.
And most importantly,
keeping those infections away.
Keeping those nasty infections at bay.
You're about to see surgery with a whole new level of appreciation.
Oh, absolutely.
To kick things off.
Okay.
Let's rewind a bit.
Right.
Imagine yourself back in the 1800s.
Oh.
About to undergo surgery.
Okay.
What comes to mind?
Probably not a comforting picture.
Yeah.
Back then, surgery was a risky endeavor. Operating rooms were often more like, well, butcher shops. Surgeons didn't wear gloves or masks.
Oh, my goodness.
Instruments weren't always sterilized.
That's just a recipe for disaster.
It was a different time.
So how did we go from those terrifying operating rooms to the ultra-clean environments we have today?
It all started with a revolution.
Okay.
In our understanding of germs and infection.
Yeah.
Scientists like Louis Pasteur,
of course,
Joseph Lister,
yeah,
helped us realize that those tiny invisible microbes, they were the culprits behind post-surgical infections.
That makes sense.
Lister in particular.
Yeah.
He pioneered antiseptic techniques.
Okay.
Using carbolic acid to sterilize instruments and dressings.
It's a game changer.
Let me tell you, it was a game changer.
Wow. So those early pioneers really paved the way for modern surgery.
Absolutely. Their discoveries were like shining a light on a hidden world.
Yeah.
And they led to a dramatic decrease in post-surgical infections. And as our understanding of microbiology and infection control evolved,
of course,
so too did the design of operating rooms.
Okay, so that's the historical context.
Right.
Now let's fast forward to today.
Okay.
How do those historical lessons translate into the operating rooms we see now?
The evolution of operating rooms led to a fascinating concept.
Okay.
Surgical zoning. Imagine a series of carefully guarded chambers.
Okay.
Each with its own level of security clearance.
Oh, wow.
All designed to protect the most vulnerable point, the patient.
It sounds almost like a military operation.
A very carefully orchestrated environment.
So walk us through these zones.
Sure.
What are they and why are they so crucial?
The first zone, the outermost layer of protection, is called the protective zone.
Protective zone.
This acts as a buffer between the outside world and the controlled environment of the surgical suite.
So if I'm picturing this correctly, this is where the decontamination process begins. Like a transition zone where we leave the everyday world behind.
Think of it as stepping into a sacred space.
Okay.
This is where staff change into scrubs.
Yeah.
Hair covers and masks.
Right.
It's all about limiting the transfer of contaminants.
So it's the first line of defense against those invisible invaders?
Precisely.
Okay.
And then we move into the clean zone.
Clean zone.
That's like a well-stocked armory.
Okay.
Housing a treasure trove of sterile instruments.
Nice.
Medications, linens, everything meticulously protected.
So this is where the weapons of surgery are kept safe and sound until they're needed.
Exactly. And just like any high-security vault, access is tightly controlled,
of course,
with strict dress codes and hygiene protocols.
Okay, so we've gone from the protective zone, shedding our street clothes and donning our surgical armor, to the clean zone, where everything is prepped and ready for action.
Yes.
Where do we go from here?
Next, we enter the inner sanctum, the aseptic or sterile zone.
Oh.
This is where the magic happens, the heart of the operating theater, where surgery takes place.
So this is where things get serious.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Only those directly involved in the surgery are allowed in.
Of course.
And they're fully gowned, gloved, and masked, looking more like astronauts than surgeons.
I can only imagine the level of focus and precision required in this zone.
It's a very controlled environment.
It must feel like stepping into another world.
It really does. The air is even special here.
Oh, okay.
They use HEPA filters. These incredible systems that can capture microscopic particles.
Wow.
Including bacteria and viruses.
So they're scrubbing the air clean.
It's as clean as it can possibly be.
Wow. So even the air itself is meticulously controlled.
Every detail, every movement is orchestrated to minimize the risk of contamination.
Okay.
And to further enhance this control,
okay,
we have a final zone, the disposal or dirty zone.
Ah, yes, the unglamorous but absolutely essential area where all this stuff goes.
Precisely. This is where contaminated materials are carefully contained and disposed of,
Right.
preventing them from spreading back into cleaner areas.
Of course.
Used instruments, gowns, gloves, dressings, everything goes through a rigorous process to ensure that the chain of sterility is never broken.
It's fascinating to see how each zone plays a vital role.
Yes.
Like interconnected gears in a well-oiled machine.
Yes.
All working together to protect the patient.
That's the goal.
But tell me, how do we ensure that everyone on the surgical team adheres to these strict protocols?
That's a great question.
It must require a lot of training.
It does.
And vigilance.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's not just about physical barriers and protocols.
Right.
It's about cultivating a culture of safety and precision.
Right.
We'll delve deeper into that aspect in our next segment.
Okay.
Exploring the human element behind these zones.
Okay.
And how it all comes together to safeguard patient well-being.
I can't wait to hear more.
Right.
But for now, let's take a quick pause.
Okay.
Let all this fascinating information sink in.
Sounds good.
We'll be right back with part 2 of our deep dive into the incredible world of operating theater zones.
Looking forward to it.
Welcome back to our exploration of operating theater zones.
These zones shaped by history and science.
It's kind of mind-blowing to think about how these zones stand guard against those invisible enemies.
They really are the unsung heroes of surgery.
Microorganisms that can turn a successful surgery into a fight for recovery.
It's a constant battle against the unseen.
We've already journeyed from the protective zone, where the outside world is left behind, to the clean zone where those sterile supplies await their moment in the spotlight.
Yes, exactly.
And now we're standing at the threshold of the aseptic zone.
The heart of the surgical theater.
But before we step inside, I'm curious about something. We've talked about the physical barriers, the protocols, the meticulously controlled environment. But what about the human element?
That's a crucial point.
Yeah.
It's like having the most advanced security system, but leaving the doors unlocked.
Right.
The human factor is paramount.
So how do we ensure that everyone involved in surgery is fully committed to maintaining this chain of sterility?
It all starts with education.
Okay.
Imagine a surgical resident stepping into the operating room for the first time.
It's got to be nerve-wracking.
It can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
We need to equip them.
Yeah.
And every member of the team with a deep understanding of why these protocols exist.
Not just what they are.
Not just a list of rules to follow.
Right.
They need to grasp the gravity of their every move.
Oh, wow.
How even a seemingly insignificant action could compromise the sterile field and put the patient at risk.
So it's about transforming those rules from mere procedures into a deeply ingrained mindset.
Precisely. We need to cultivate a culture where everyone from the seasoned surgeon to the newest scrub nurse feels empowered to speak up if they see something amiss.
It's like those moments in movies where a nurse notices a tiny detail, a break in protocol, and it turns out to be crucial.
Exactly. It's about training everyone to have that eagle eye, to be attuned to even the smallest discrepancies.
It's not just about learning the steps of the dance. It's about understanding the rhythm, the nuances.
It's about the why behind the what.
Okay, let's say we have a team of highly trained professionals, all deeply committed to maintaining a sterile environment. But what about those unexpected situations? What happens when the carefully orchestrated ballet of surgery is interrupted by an emergency?
That's a great question.
Yeah, do those protocols go out the window?
Emergencies are a reality of surgery. And they definitely test the limits of even the most well-rehearsed protocols. But here's the thing. Surgical teams are trained to adapt, to think on their feet, and to prioritize patient safety.
Of course.
Even in the midst of chaos.
It's like having a backup plan for the backup plan.
Exactly. It's about being prepared for the unexpected.
Yeah.
Knowing how to adjust those carefully choreographed movements without compromising the sterile field.
Yeah.
For example, if a piece of equipment malfunctions, the team knows how to replace it quickly and efficiently while maintaining the sterile boundaries.
Wow.
Or if a patient experiences an unexpected complication,
Okay.
they know how to respond swiftly
Right.
while still adhering to infection control measures.
So it's about having that deep-rooted understanding of the principles of sterility, allowing them to make informed decisions.
Yeah.
Even in the heat of the moment.
Precisely. It's about having that unwavering commitment to patient safety.
Yeah.
Ingrained in every fiber of their being.
It's amazing how this seemingly simple concept of zones
Right.
has evolved into such a sophisticated system.
It really has.
Encompassing not just physical barriers and procedures, but also a deeply ingrained culture of safety and vigilance.
It's a testament to the dedication of healthcare professionals worldwide.
Yeah.
Constantly striving to refine those protocols.
Right.
To anticipate potential pitfalls.
Yeah.
And to create an environment where patients can undergo surgery with the highest level of confidence.
I'm ready to step into that aseptic zone now.
Okay.
To witness firsthand the culmination of all these efforts.
Let's go.
What awaits us within those hallowed walls.
Join me as we venture into the heart of the surgical theater.
Okay.
Where precision reigns supreme.
Yeah.
And every detail is meticulously orchestrated to safeguard patient well-being.
We'll be right back.
Okay.
After a short break.
That's good.
To continue our journey. Welcome back to the deep dive.
We're standing on the precipice.
We're standing on the precipice.
Of the aseptic zone.
The heart of the operating theater.
After exploring the outer layers of protection.
The protective zone and the clean zone.
We're about to enter the inner sanctum.
Where surgery takes place.
Imagine stepping into a room where even the air is meticulously filtered.
Wow.
Where every surface gleams with sterility.
It's making me feel like I need to scrub in.
You might want to.
But seriously, what specific measures create this ultra-clean environment within the aseptic zone?
It's a multi-layered defense system.
Okay.
Designed to minimize the risk of infection from every possible angle.
Got it.
First and foremost, consider the attire.
Okay.
Everyone in the aseptic zone is completely covered.
Head to toe.
From head to toe in sterile garments.
Wow.
We're talking about surgical gowns, gloves, masks that filter even the tiniest particles, and even special shoe coverings.
It's like suiting up for a mission to another planet.
That's a great analogy.
But instead of protecting against the harshness of space, this spacesuit is guarding against those microscopic invaders.
Exactly. And the air itself
Yeah.
is treated with the utmost care.
Right.
We use those HEPA filters,
Yeah.
which are like microscopic sieves, capturing bacteria, viruses, and even tiny dust particles.
It's not just about filtering the air, but also about controlling its flow.
You're exactly right.
Okay.
They use a system called laminar airflow, which creates a smooth, unidirectional current of air,
Wow.
pushing contaminants away from the surgical site.
So it's like creating an invisible shield of clean air.
Precisely.
Protecting the patient from those airborne threats.
And let's not forget
Okay.
the meticulous handling of every instrument and surface within this zone.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Surgical instruments undergo a rigorous sterilization process,
Okay.
using high heat and pressure to eliminate any lingering microorganisms.
So everything is just constantly being disinfected.
Surfaces are constantly disinfected.
Okay.
And the entire team is trained to move in ways that minimize the risk of accidental contamination.
It's like a carefully choreographed dance.
Exactly. But it doesn't end there.
Okay.
Once the surgery is complete,
Right.
all those used instruments, gowns, gloves, dressings, are carefully contained and whisked away.
To the disposal zone.
To the disposal or dirty zone.
Okay.
This prevents those contaminated materials from coming into contact with cleaner areas.
Makes sense.
Ensuring that the cycle of sterility remains unbroken.
It's incredible how each zone plays a crucial role in this intricate ballet of protection.
It all works together.
Beyond the physical barriers and protocols.
Right.
We've also discussed the importance of the human element.
The human element is key.
That culture of vigilance and accountability within the surgical team.
Absolutely.
Can you give us some real-world examples of how this vigilance plays out in the operating room?
Absolutely. Imagine a scenario where a scrub nurse notices a small tear in a surgeon's glove.
Okay.
It might seem like a minor issue.
Yeah.
But that tiny breach could compromise the entire sterile field.
Right.
A vigilant nurse would immediately speak up, ensuring that the surgeon changes gloves before continuing the procedure.
It's about having the courage to point out even seemingly small discrepancies.
Exactly. It's about fostering an environment where everyone feels empowered to speak up,
Right.
knowing that their voice is valued, and that patient safety is the ultimate priority.
And it's not just about preventing errors, but also about constantly seeking ways to improve.
You got it.
Right.
Surgical teams regularly review their procedures, analyze data on infection rates, and look for ways to enhance their protocols.
So it's like a continuous learning
process. Precisely. Yeah. It's this unwavering dedication to patient safety that makes modern surgery so remarkable.
This deep dive has given me a whole new level of appreciation.
I'm glad to hear that.
For the complexity and meticulousness of operating theater zones.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
It's like peeking behind the curtain.
Yeah.
And seeing the intricate workings of a well-oiled machine.
A lot of moving parts.
All geared towards protecting the patient.
That's the goal.
And with that, we've come to the end of our deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Into the fascinating world of operating theater zones.
I hope you learned something new today.
Until next time, stay curious.